Hi guys, Chef Frank Murphy here at North Bend High School again. Today I thought I'd show you a little bit of making bread. And you know, sometimes when you watch these videos online or you read some books about bread making, it becomes really confusing. You kind of go, oh, I couldn't do that. But you know what? Bread baking is easy. I'm going to just show you a really simple way here. And it's a matter of just getting started in it. And then after that, you can get as complicated as you want. You can get into the hydration levels and protein levels and all sorts of different breads and things, or different flours. But you can just make plain white loaf, very simple, just for yourself. And what I have here, some flour. And again, I'm going to put the recipe in the notes in the bottom of the video, okay? And if you watch till the end too, I'll put them in there. So I've just got some white flour. This happens to be a bread flour. If you don't have bread flour at home, you have all-purpose flour, you could use that. If you have bread flour, go ahead and use it. I have some salt, and I put the salt in. You always need some salt in the bread. It brings out the flavor, and you know, just bread without salt is not very good. Next, I have some water. Now, this water is just a little bit warm. You do not want it too hot. You don't want to put your finger in and go, oh, that's hot. It just has to be like blood temperature, okay? The yeast that you're going to use is alive. And if we put this into too much hot water, if the water is too hot, it's just going to kill it. So you got to treat it with respect. So we have our yeast. This is a dry yeast. Pick it up at the store. You can get the little packets of it. And if you're having difficulty, you know, getting it, just come see me. Send me an email. I've got some. So we add that into our water. Put it to the side. Now again, hands all washed and everything. So you want to just move that around, kind of dissolve your yeast into the water. Now sometimes some people would like to put a little sugar or something in to the water, and they add their yeast and they wait for the yeast to activate. That can be a little, you know, a good idea if you have yeast at home that, you know, it hasn't been used for quite a while, you're not too sure if it's still active. And it would just be a small, like a teaspoon, quarter teaspoon of sugar. And if you mix it into the hot or into warm water, and then let it sit for a little bit, and it'll start, you'll see a little froth on the top, and then you know that your yeast is good. I'm not going to worry about it because I know we go through so much yeast here that the yeast is good. So got that, got my flour with my salt. Now, one thing that you have to be very careful with is salt and yeast. If you do not mix your salt into your flour ahead of time, and you add the yeast on top of it, you could kill off some or all of the yeast. Because it's just the concentration would be too high. So mix it in well. Don't put your salt into the water with the yeast. That's not going to be a good outcome. Now, just make a little well in the center, and go ahead and add your water. Now, when I'm measuring this stuff out, you do have to be pretty exact, okay? So maybe use the scales. It's going to make quite a difference to you. So now, all I really have to do is to bring it together. This method that I'm showing you is called a no-knead method. So you're not going to have to take this out, put it on the table, and knead away. If you have issues maybe with wrists or anything, this is just a great way because you can mix it together. You can use a wooden spoon if you want to, or if you have a stand mixer, you could just kind of mix it together, and you don't have to knead it. We're going to give it the time. So if you can see there, I'm just bringing it together, using my fingers, getting all that flour and the water combined. And there we see that now. there is a kitchen tool called a Dutch dough hook, which can be handy for this. But you know what, hands will just do the work. So what I want to make sure is I get all of this really mixed together well. I don't want any dry flour. Starts to look like a shaggy dog. This will take like overnight. And you just have to come back to it every hour or so, just a couple of times. You don't have to wake up at 2 o'clock in the morning and do it, but you will just have to kind of stretch this dough a little bit during the fermentation process. So I think that's pretty good there. It's quite sticky, which is okay. And it does not look like it's going to make a good bread, but believe me, this will change. So just kind of clean your hands off as well as you can. And we're going to put a towel over the top, or saran wrap, or if you have a large tub, a large plastic tub with a lid on it, that will work too. But you will need to make sure it's covered. If you don't cover it, it's going to dry out and it's not going to really work well for you. So damp towel, saran wrap would be better, or a tub with a lid. Sometimes with a tub with a lid, say if you had something like this, something bigger, you could add a little bit of oil and very tiny bit and just grease the outside or the inside here, and it'll make getting the dough out a little easier. You don't have to do that. But this is going to rise, so you're going to need something big enough to at least about 2 or 3 times the size of your dough so that you'll be able to work it. Now, what I would do is I'd cover this up, and then I would wait about an hour and a half. So, and I'd come back to it, I'd uncover it, and then I'll just take my hand and I'll reach down and I'll just grab the dough and stretch it over like that. I'll turn my bowl 90 degrees and do the same, just kind of stretch and put it on top. Again, stretch, put it on top. And work my way around. So that's kind of 4 stretches. And that's it. Cover it up. Come back about an hour later, hour and a half later. Don't have to be exact on it. And do it again. You want to be keeping this in either, if you could keep it in the refrigerator, but at the very beginning, I would suggest maybe in a kitchen. Not a kitchen that's really, really warm, but just kind of comfortable, maybe, 60s or so, late or high 60s, and while you're stretching it. And then when you go to bed, just take it, stick it covered into the refrigerator, and it'll ferment overnight. And then the next morning, you're going to be able to take it out and you're going to bake it. So we're going to let this sit, and we'll see how it bakes up here in a little bit. Okay.
Okay, so now this is the next day. It's the morning time. I've taken the bowl. I'm going to unwrap it. And one thing that you need to do is make sure you clean as you go. Unwrap some, put it straight in the garbage. It's going to make life a little easier for you. So we have our bowl. The day before we had stretched it, turning it all the time, and now it has doubled up in size. So we're going to take this out of the bowl. I'll take a little bit of flour and just put on the table. Don't need very much, just a little tiny bit. I'll take it out. Don't dig your fingers into it, so just kind of keep your fingers kind of closed, and then kind of just scooping it gently. Now I have a dough knife. These are really handy. They're very cheap to buy. great for scraping down a table after you've worked on it. Just cutting dough. Great thing just to have a little bit of flour on it there to stop it sticking. Just going to cut this dough in half. And now I'm going to form these up. If your dough is very sticky and you have a problem with trying to form it and get it into a nice round, just wet your hands and that'll work. The other thing you'll want to do is make sure that you don't stick your fingers into it, okay? Just be using the palms of your hands and you'll see that it'll just round up nicely for you. You want to get nice and smooth on the top, and then you'll have, if you turn it over, you'll actually see like what looks like a little dimple on the bottom. So I'll get the second one ready. And as you do this a few times, you'll find that handling the dough becomes pretty easy. Now I'm going to be putting these into baskets to proof out for a couple of hours. You could use a cookie sheet and just place them on a cookie sheet and cover them up so that the tops of them don't dry out. You could even use like a clay pot for this, like a flower pot, and you want, of course, clay. Just flour the inside of it, and you could use that. In fact, some people even use the clay pots to bake their bread in. So I'm going to put it in. As you can see, I put it upside down into the basket, and these baskets have covers, so I just put the cover on, and I just set it aside. I get the second one. You see that I put a little bit of flour on the inside again, knock out all the excess. You don't want to have too much flour in there. Now these baskets are going to give a little design around the bread.
Okay, so we've got our bread, or our dough, not bread yet, in our baskets, and you may have it on a tray. So let's have a look what it's like. Okay, it has risen up. Now, this is not going to be as smooth and stuff as if you had spent your time kneading it and that, but just to make your first loaf of bread, it works pretty good. So what I'm going to do is, this is a little bit of cornmeal. I'm just going to put a little bit on my table here, and I'm going to gently lift out the dough. I'll take the second one here. Always worried that they're going to stick. Now, this is a lamb. It's like a razor blade and slightly curved. The idea of this is that you can make some cuts across your dough. That's going to allow it to, it's going to burst there, so when it rises up and you're kind of controlling it. And a lot of times bakers have their own little design. It's like their Zorro mark or whatever. So we got that there. Next thing, I'm going to put it in our oven. Now, I have a peel. Put a little bit of cornmeal on there so it doesn't stick on me. And I'll just gently take it up on the peel. And then we're going to put it in the oven. And this is a Rofco. And you can see that there are stones inside it, and they're heated from below. And this works pretty nice. I'll put that in there. Keep our door just closed. I'll get the other loaf here. Go ahead, put it up here, I think. There we go. And we just close the door. Make sure our little vents are closed. That's going to keep some of the steam in. If we wanted to, we could actually put there's a tray in here that I can put cold water into, and it will steam up. And now we just give it a little time, and we'll see how it goes. So it's going to probably take about 30 minutes or so to cook. Okay, so let's check our bread. It's been about half hour. I think they're looking good. Now, to find out whether they're actually cooked, what we can do is just lift them up. Looking good. Now, to check to see if they're cooked, you can turn them over, and there should be hollow on the inside, okay? Or a hollow sound, I should say. They're looking good there. So I'll go ahead and take these out with my peel. Taking them out here. We'll put them onto a cooling rack, and we'll let them cool there. And I know it's kind of hard to resist cutting them straight away, but you're better off just let them cool, and we'll wait here for a little while, and we'll get some butter out. And if you listen closely, you can actually hear the tops of them cracking. Okay, guys, so the bread has cooled down a bit. So I'm going to take it, maybe slice it. Now see how it is. Doesn't look too bad. Got to find out how it tastes. And over here, of course, I have my trusty Kerrygold butter. And let me see how it does. It's good. So thank you for watching another video. Hopefully this was helpful. I will put all the recipes in the description of the video. And see, bread turned out pretty good. And it tastes pretty good. Now, if you like the video, please subscribe to our channel. And I'm Chef Frank Murphy from North Bend High School. And I hope you have a good day.